Jenny Pivor with Jenny's Muse, and tonight we are doing a wine and mead tasting right here in the studio at SATV. And it may look like we're somewhere else because it's a photograph of the inside of one of our guest store, which is the Salem Wine Imports store in Salem, which is just this beautiful little store. And we also have Kathy Genis, who is the owner of that store, and she's going to be explaining all about some wines to you. And then I've got Dan Clapp here from 1634 Meadery in Ipswich, and this is a locally sourced mead, and he is actually a beekeeper. He makes this with honey, and he's going to tell you about the process, and he buys his honey elsewhere as well, but it's a really interesting process. And we're going to be comparing wine to mead, and we've got our little band of tasters here who are going to be giving you their impressions on all of these drinks. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce everyone right now. Join us, starting with Dan. This is Dan Clapp from 1634 Meadery, and this is Kathy Genis, and we've got Felice, who's changing her name all the time, and I can't remember.
Felice Stubbs.
Thank you. And Carol McLaughlin and Janet Schwartz. And so, shall we begin? I think, Kathy, you were going to start with one of your wines. So tell us a little bit about your store.
Okay.
Tell us about how you picked these particular wines and what is special about these.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, just to give you a little rundown on the store, Salem Wine Imports was started in Salem about 11 years ago by a man named Eric Olson. I've since now work in tandem with Eric. We work as a team. It's been a great little store. The whole idea was to have a store for the people of Salem so they could have their own little wine shop away from the liquor marts, to have artisanal wines, special wines. Every wine in the store has to earn its place on the shelf.
And they're wonderful. I mean, I've gone to some wine tastings at your store, which you have on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they're
That's
these
right.
little intimate things in this gorgeous little space. And I was really surprised that they weren't that expensive either. So, but they were all good.
They're all good. We range from $800 to $800. So.
Yeah, well, we didn't taste it.
We haven't tasted $800 yet.
Right. So, are we tasting that tonight?
We're not quite tasting it tonight. Tonight we'll be tasting wines in a timely fashion for Thanksgiving. So good wines that are good for any time of the year, but especially good for the Thanksgiving Day table.
Well, let's start with one of your wines. Why don't you tell us what we're doing?
Absolutely. Okay. So the first one we're going to start off with is a Pinot Gris. A little bit about Pinot Gris. It's actually the same grape as a Pinot Grigio. So it really depends on the location. If it's from France or the U.S. or other locations, it's a Pinot Gris. It's called Pinot Grigio if it's out of Italy.
I thought that was just your nickname for it.
No, it's actually, they're the same grape. There might be some variation in the clone because of the weather and the terroir and the producer's style. You get a little bit of a different taste profile. So a Pinot Grigio is going to be a little bit more on the floral side, although it'll have that peachy sort of stone fruit kind of taste, and the Pinot Gris will be similar. It's a little bit more substantial, a little bit fuller bodied, and it will have more of a tropical instead of a floral feel.
So this is good for Thanksgiving with turkey or something else that you think?
It's light. It's not like a Chardonnay that's heavily oaked. It has its own character, but it's not overwhelming. All the wines that we chose for Thanksgiving are wines that can complement a very complicated meal. So instead of a wine per course, which would be one way of choosing the wines, we found all wines that are extremely versatile.
Don't you think that most people have one wine for the whole meal?
I think they
they
really do.
Yeah,
and really, wine is not the key focus of a Thanksgiving Day meal with 20 people and a lot of talk and a lot of courses.
We're not doing pairings. And
That's right. That's right.
So let's taste it.
Okay, so let's start this off.
So my tasters, we're going to go around and you're going to say the first word that goes in your head when you taste this wine. I'm gonna do it too. Dan's gonna do it too.
Sure.
Oops.
Yeah.
Okay, Janet, do you wanna start? First word, boom.
Complex.
Good.
I would say apricot.
Apricot. First word. Don't overthink it.
It's light and delicious.
Light. Okay, good. Dan.
I'm getting a little citrus out of it, like grapefruit, citrus.
Tangy.
All great words. Absolutely, yeah. As I was saying before, there's a lot of stone fruit in there.
And how do you describe it?
That's how I would describe it. With the stone fruit, you're going to get citrus, and you're going to get sort of a tropical feel to that as well, maybe even a little mango or something.
So this is, because I always forget what I'm tasting, Montanore?
This is Montanore is the vineyard, and it's from the Willamette Valley. It's also completely sustainably produced, so biodynamic and organic.
Wow. And what does this sell for?
That's a $16 bottle.
Okay, nice. Okay. Shall we run up Mead taste
Sure,
against this? Okay.
sure.
It is, it's very light.
It's very light.
Yeah, it's very nice. I don't want to drink too much. Okay. All right, Mr. Mead man, tell us about what we're going to try.
So I brought a selection of meads from the shop that kind of cover the range of things that you can do with mead. Mead's a very versatile drink. All these are based on honey. That's the definition of mead. Fermentation sugar in the product is always honey. But then you can also add fruits and spices and herbs to them to make variations of the mead. And that's why you see some of the nice colors you see out on the table here, where we've taken whole local fruits and we throw it right into the fermenter along with the honey. So we're going to start with one that's just honey.
Before we do that,
Yep.
how did you get into doing this?
How did I get into doing this?
Yeah.
I actually got into mead making about 15 years ago. I went on I was on a genealogy trip traveling to Denmark actually, and on the way home, I had left my wife at home with a couple of infant girls, and I thought I'd better bring back a gift for her because I had left her. And I picked up a bottle of mead that it was a clay bottle, had a Viking on the front of it, and I brought it home. I wasn't really sure what mead was, but it intrigued me. Finally got around to tasting it a couple months later and said, hey, this stuff's pretty good. And so I started doing research on seeing what is this stuff, and I saw that it was fermented honey. And I was a home beer brewer. I like to tinker, and I decided that I was going to try and make some mead. And so I got online, got some books on it, and started getting passionate about making a better mead each time I made some. And this kind of built up into eventually turning into the Meadery.
And what makes the mead better?
What makes mead better? Well, I think it just has a very soothing and warming quality to it that you don't get from other alcoholic beverages. It's something you can, and it's also very versatile. As you go through these, when we taste all these, you'll see with the different flavorings that you can do, it really carries flavors very well. And so you can make a fruit mead that really tastes like the fruit. You can make a spiced mead that carries those spices very well and makes it seasonal, that type of thing. So I think it's just fun and versatile and different, and that makes it exciting.
So would one of these go all through Thanksgiving dinner too?
Well, I brought one special for Thanksgiving. In fact, we release it we've released it for 3 years in a row. We've been open for 3.5 years, as our cranberry mead, which is obviously very appropriate. So it's made with local wildflower honey and locally sourced cranberries.
That sounds wonderful.
But any of these I think would go good this time of year. They're good seasonal meads.
And do you normally serve it at room temperature or cold or
most people who consider themselves mead drinkers would say cellar temperature or room temperature. But once you start getting into some of those fruit meads where they're a little bit more fruitiness to them, they can be made into cocktails. You can and you can't chill them. Actually, we have a couple restaurants that make a cocktail out of the cranberry mead, as a matter of fact. So it's very, it kind of plays in that whole versatility of the drink and all the things you can do with it.
I'm very curious.
So yeah, so let's try some. So we're going to start out with what's called a show mead or a traditional style mead, which is just honey. So you can think of the honey as the terroir you would find in a wine, where different honeys, different types of honey are going to flavor the mead differently. And we're going to start with a clover honey mead. So this is just the ingredients for this are honey, water, and yeast. So it's your basic recipe. So this is made just like a
We could do it in our
wine.
kitchen, right?
Yep.
Not right.
It's made in the same way a wine is made, except now your sugar source is coming from the honey, and that sugar gets turned into the alcohol. These are all these meads I have today are in the 13 to 15% alcohol range, so they're in that wine territory, maybe slightly above. One more, sorry.
One more.
We don't want to. The host actually has to have some mead.
Have to try this.
So yeah, so this is if you think about this, and then you can change the honey type. You can use orange blossom honey. You can use we have some bamboo honey, that type of thing. So this is made with a clover honey. So this I would describe as kind of a middle sweetness mead. My meads are typically less sweet than a lot of meads, but this is my middle sweetness one, and it's got, some people get a little earthiness out of this, and it all depends on what honey is being used. So it's kind of I describe this one as kind of a mellow mead.
It's almost like a brandy or something. Oh, okay, that's my first word, brandy.
Brandy, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, my first word is honey. Uncreative, but it is.
I love the finish. The finish, you can, it's like, I'm describing it, but on the middle of the tongue, I love the way it fills the middle of the tongue. I love that part of it, and it's right before the very end.
The textures, smoothness.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I was also going to say brandy, but it's less sweet and sort of more drinkable. Surprising, actually. It's very good.
Lighter. Yeah.
Very similar, but sort of subtly sweet, not too sweet.
It's lovely.
That's one thing I really drive for in my meads, is to not make it crayoly sweet. A lot of meads can be.
So do you
Oh,
taste a lot? I mean,
Really.
are you that sounds like a happy job.
Well, you have to make sure you're making a good product. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes we find ourselves early in the morning, we're sampling.
Whoa!
Meads. What am I doing?
Then you need the nap.
That's an interesting career. Did you ever see yourself as doing this?
No, not at all. I'm actually an ocean engineer, so you can believe that. So, but
Wow.
A few years ago, decided I was tired of sitting in front of a computer screen all day, and a few people suggested that I try and sell the mead, so kind of jumped in with both feet.
That's great. Super. Okay, should we do another one of yours?
Yes, absolutely. So we're gonna jump from white over to red. If you're thinking of a Thanksgiving meal, then white is equally good to red. A lot of people like to have both on the table. Normally they'll have a group. So the next one that we're gonna do is a Cru Beaujolais. So it's gonna be from France. Beaujolais is going to be right underneath where Burgundy is. It's sometimes considered a part of Burgundy, but it's really its own region. There are 10 crus, and we're going to go with one of them that's called Morgon, which is a sub-region of Beaujolais. And this particular cru is a little bit more austere, a little bit more serious. They call it the scholar, this particular type of wine. And I'm going to go ahead and pour, and then we can talk about it a little more from there. Feel free to swish the wine around a little bit, because that'll aerate it. And then you can put your nose in and give it a good smell as well as taste.
Thank you. Do you want to start with the word?
I'll tell you in a second. It depends on what comes to mind.
Great.
I would say bold, dark fruits.
Cherries.
Cherries is a good one.
I would say crisp. Just different from gold.
That's a little tart.
It is a little tart.
It is.
I've got to do two words, like a lingering
Uh-huh.
taste. It started as something and then it ended as something else. If that makes any sense.
Yes, that is called, it's evolving on the palate.
I wouldn't have
And
known
that is the
yeah.
signs of a better wine, when you actually have a change in what you're tasting and the texture. And sometimes for a very, very expensive wine that's aged a long time, you can get a whole variety of tastes that just continue to evolve for a very long time.
Wow.
So I have a huge confession to make. I poured the wrong wine. So, interestingly enough, this was not the Morgon, which is why I think some of the words that were coming from you all were, concentrated and full-bodied and cherry, and so you're all completely spot on where you were. This was actually the Pinot Noir.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, let's look at the bottle.
Yeah.
She wanted to make sure we were being honest.
Okay.
Yeah, and you were all
This, how do you pronounce
spot on.
this?
Elahi.
Elahi.
Yes.
Elahi
Um,
Estate Pinot Noir.
That's, it's from Oregon. It's from the Willamette Valley. This is also sustainably farmed. They actually have no electricity on this particular vineyard.
Wow.
So it's horse-drawn buggies.
Oh my
and
gosh. I
it's
love that.
it's about as organic as it can get in many ways. A little bit more full-bodied, and the soil is all clay and volcanic, so it makes the roots go digging down really, really deep, so it creates a very concentrated wine. So this one is a Pinot Noir.
And how do you feel about that wine? Do you like it?
This is one of the store's best sellers because it's so good, especially around this time. I love this wine. Some of the flavors that you were all saying are right in there. The cherry, you might even get a little bit of chocolate. You could get tobacco leaves in this particular wine. It is
I could see that.
fun choice, and it's one of the lighter. It's the vineyard's opening wine. They also have some different reserves that get heavier and more concentrated. So this particular one at the $26 price point is really sort of perfect for Thanksgiving. That'll be on my Thanksgiving table.
Lovely. It's nice. Lovely. All right. What have you got?
Excellent. So now we're going to go to a different style of mead. So you can take that same basic honey recipe, and then what you can do is throw fruits into the fermenter, and also we can age them with different spices. So we're going to go to a little bit sweeter one now on this one. I just kind of chose this order as we kind of go a little bit bolder as we go up the tasting line. This is kind of a more mellow mead. It's a peach and vanilla mead. So,
Ooh, that sounds lovely.
That does sound
I'm getting my glass.
So this might you might have to take a couple sips on this one after following that wine, just to get your palate to adjust a little bit. So this one's made with locally sourced peaches from Cider Hill Farm up in Amesbury, and then we take a bunch of whole vanilla beans and sit them in the aging tanks for about 3 months or so. All the meads age for at least 6 months. You need to age the mead, and it'll keep getting better as it sits in the aging tanks.
So, how big are the vats that the mead is in?
We use 55-gallon stainless drums.
Okay.
We have a whole wall full of them, and our goal is we have a 2-car garage, so we cram a lot into a very small space. So
You do this in your garage?
it's not my garage. We rent a little spot. I actually thought about doing it out of my garage. but,
Not a garage band, but a garage meadery,
Yeah.
right?
No, the goal when we opened it was to have a nice starting place for a small meadery, and also have a tasting room. We want to make sure that we can educate people. A lot of people haven't had mead before, and it's very important to educate people about mead. So having a tasting room was very important. So we're gonna. What's your thoughts on this one?
Dessert.
Dessert. Okay.
Yeah.
peachy.
That was my word. So it's delicious.
Yeah,
And
good one.
I want more.
More.
And I can taste the vanilla, but it also has a
Yeah.
very nice aroma to it. It's very nice.
Aromatic.
What we try to do is when we kind of concentrate on a lot of fruit meads, and when you seal those up in the stainless barrels and let them age, those fruit flavors really come out really well when they entwine with the honey. Smooth?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one we get very often with that one. It's easygoing, mellow mead. You can imagine sitting after dinner and having a sip.
He can't stand it. We're bringing up our cameraman.
Excellent.
He's gotta come up with
He
a
has to
crew.
come up and taste.
All right,
Okay, do you want to taste this one?
sure.
Okay, taste this one.
Teach me.
Okay,
This is so good.
It is. I love this.
I love it.
So this is a peach vanilla mead.
okay.
Okay,
So-
we need a word from you. First word that pops in your head. After you taste it, you have to taste it first.
Oh, dessert.
Yeah, that was my word too.
Oh,
Right?
you're right,
It's
yeah.
okay. It's all right. You were back there. You didn't even hear. That's funny. That's funny. And so, Kathy carries these in her wine store too, right?
Yes, absolutely. We have pretty much the full selection. Yep,
They do a good job with
Yeah. Oh, I love
very
this.
popular in the store.
All right. So, what are we doing now?
So the last one I've talked about already a little bit, just to give you a brief rundown. This was the Beaujolais. This was the crew from Beaujolais, and it is a Morgon, and it's a serious Beaujolais. And I'm gonna go ahead and pour.
I'm gonna go back to my camera.
Well, you can come back.
Yes.
A napkin for you. I got my nose wet with that one. It's like, you know, got milk?
Yeah, got wine.
Got wine. Okay, do you want to start with one?
Sure. I think it has a nice finish on the tongue. A little bit dry. Several words.
I can't come up with a single word, but I would say I can imagine this with a really delicious meal, and I love it. I absolutely love this one. But it's hard to.
I feel like the little tannic on the tongue.
that.
Yeah. It's interesting as well. Did you?
No, I would say it's light. What about you?
I'm thinking I'm gonna go with astringency or that you get from the tannins. The finish is very nice.
So finish is a term that I am, in my unsophisticated way, am not really familiar with about wine. So could you explain that so that everyone who watches
Absolutely.
can
Yes.
understand that too?
The finish, as it sounds like, is the last thing that you're tasting and experiencing in the wine. A very complex wine will have a long-lasting finish, so there are wines that you will continue to taste, and they might evolve, and then they might finish with a whole different kind of taste. A really cheap and cheerful wine for Monday night, a value wine, you're not going to get a lot coming out of that. You're just going to get sort of one attack, and that's it.
Like our Chardonnays.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Janet and I always order the same things. Right. Okay, well that's good. Okay. I love this. It's great.
This is a
question
a
just
beautiful wine.
that's occurring to me. So what you were describing in the beginning, which is at the end of all that taste, there's something at the very end, which you're calling the
And that would be the finish. That's right. And depending on the wine, that can be a very different taste than what it started off to be.
So guys, we only have 5 minutes left. We need to try another mead, and then I need to tell people where to find you, and et cetera, et cetera. This has gone by so fast. This has been so much fun.
So now I have to make a choice. Do we go with the spiced mead or the cranberry mead?
Oh, cranberry for Thanksgiving, I think.
Sure. So I have another version. There's a spiced mead, so you can just take a different type of honey. Actually, that's a Japanese knotweed honey, and then we add nutmeg, cinnamon, allspice, and clove. That's Viking Victory. And that one is a sit around a campfire and plan your pillaging type. But we'll go jump to the cranberry mead. So this one is local cranberries, local honey. This is a great one to pass around the dinner table at Thanksgiving.
I love that idea.
You're gonna get quite a bit of tart, kind of a tart sweet balance out of here.
Oh, it smells so good.
Yeah, we get cranberries from Carver, Mass. Again, keeping with our locally sourced theme. And so this is a fairly bold one, I would describe it as, but nice combination of fruits and honey.
Cough medicine.
Cough medicine, okay.
But that's
Okay.
not a bad thing. Okay.
Pucker.
Yep. Definitely cranberries.
Yes, the sweetness. Yeah.
And the tartness, I mean.
Tangy, yeah, good. Well,
Yeah, so for this one, I'm going for that's kind of a balance between the sweet and the tart.
I think this would be good with Thanksgiving dinner,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and unusual.
yeah, it'd be fun to just say, hey, here's some mead. You guys ever heard of mead? And pass it around the dinner table.
I might have to buy some for a hostess gift. Yeah, the dinner I'm going to. So this has been really interesting, but I want to make sure that people know where to find you guys. So I think we should start with you because your mead can be found at your store. So why don't you tell people where to find your store and websites and all that stuff, and then we'll talk about you.
Website is salemwineimports.com. We are right in the heart of Salem, so we're right on Church Street. That is across from Turner's Seafood, so and right off of Washington Street. We're just a little bit ways down on the left-hand side as you come off Washington Street. Yes, we absolutely have a full range of the 1634.
And your wine tastings?
Free every Tuesday. They're try as you buy. Lots of fun. On Thursday, it's more of a wine workshop, so they're on a theme. We're actually full, so you need to call ahead and you can find out the schedule. They are $20 a person for about an hour workshop, and we taste very high-end wines at the same time as well, so up to $100 a bottle sometimes.
Oh my goodness.
Cheese and crackers and things.
Oh,
As
wow.
I say, we do fill up quickly for that. We also have tastings almost every Saturday, and certainly in the run-up to the holidays, we'll be tasting every Saturday.
And they're fun. It's a beautiful space. Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
And you?
Yeah, so we're up in Ipswich, just a couple towns north here. We have a little tasting room. Tasting room's open Thursday through Sunday. 1634meadery.com. You can get directions, Google, just Google it and it will pop right up. We've made 21 different flavors of mead over the 3 years, so we've got a lot to try. I always have something new coming out, so if you haven't had mead, come check it out and try some.
It's fabulous. So, well, thank you, and thank you, my tasters, and for your great words, and appreciated your being here. So, this is Jenny Pivor with Jenny's Muse. I hope you'll join us again, and see you next time.